Thank you for joining us today and welcome to our third installment in the Resource and Wellness series, Nutrition and Meal Planning, in collaboration with the American Diabetes Association. My name is Dr. Daniel Corboy, and I am the Chief Medical Officer for Humana's Illinois Medicare-Medicaid Alignment Initiative. This program, also known as MMAI, is the health plan program for people who are dually eligible for Medicare and Medicaid. MMAI is a voluntary program that improves health care for dually eligible beneficiaries in Illinois and allows them to receive all their health care services through one managed care health plan. In order to be eligible for the program, a beneficiary must be enrolled in full Medicare and full Medicaid. Effective July of this year, MMAI has been available statewide in Illinois. This expansion means that all Illinois residents who are eligible to receive Medicare and Medicaid coverage and benefits can now enroll in our health plan. As we take on new membership statewide, we strive to be present in the community to break down barriers in communication between members, community groups, provider groups, and managed care organizations. Our goal is to decrease confusion and provide services in order to best serve our new members. I hope you enjoy today's discussion.
Hello and welcome to our third Illinois Resource and Wellness webinar in our four-part series sponsored by Humana. I'm Rebecca Johnson, the Corporate Development Officer at the American Diabetes Association. I'd like to thank Humana for joining the ADA in partnership to bring important diabetes information and resources to all of you. Be sure to save the date for our final Resource and Wellness series, Diabetes and Stress Management, which will be held on December 1st at noon. I would also like to mention that although the series is presented by Humana, we would like to clarify that this is an educational wellness webinar open to all. We won't be able to answer specific coverage questions for any plan, but if you do have a question, feel free to put them in the chat and someone will follow up with you afterwards. I am very pleased to introduce our panelists for today's discussion on nutrition and meal planning. Sharmila Chatterjee is a registered dietitian and certified diabetes care education specialist at the North Shore University Health System. Sheila Harmon is the Director of Provider Practice Office of Community Engagement and Neighborhood Health Partnerships at the University of Illinois Hospital and Health Systems. Amy Hess-Fischel is the Program Coordinator at the University of Chicago, Sections of Adult and Pediatric Endocrinology. If you have questions for our panelists, please use the chat feature, and our panelists will be happy to answer them during our Q&A time. Thank you all and enjoy the webinar.
Hi, my name is Sharmila Chatterjee, and I'm a registered dietitian and a certified diabetes care and education specialist at North Shore University Health System Endocrinology. I am very honored today that American Diabetes Association has given me this opportunity to speak to you guys on nutrition and meal planning for diabetes. Here I am with some quick recipe, which is healthy. And I discovered that American Diabetes Association has a great website, which is a diabetes food hub. And this recipe that I'm trying to demonstrate today is a recipe from them. It has only 3 grams of carbs. As you can see, this is a cucumber onion salad that I cut into dice, small dice and onions. There's some Splenda. This is about 1/3 of a cup. This is about 1/3 of a cup white vinegar and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. There's black pepper to your taste. So what we're going to do, so I cut them first, then I'm going to mix this vinegar in a little measuring cup. I'm going to add the Splenda and some salt, the 1/4 teaspoon. So 1/3 cup vinegar, 1/3 cup Splenda granulated, and some black pepper to taste. And I'm just going to whisk it till the Splenda dissolves in the nicely into the salad dressing. It has about 0 fat, so no added sugar, and so I'm just going to mix it all together. And you can use like a tongs or just mix it, and then you just have to refrigerate it for 2 hours. This particular recipe serves 6 people, but and then you just serve this with some grilled grilled salmon or chicken, and eat it with a serving of, this is fist size is a serving of carb. So half of your plate should be vegetables, which is this. Half of your plate, 1/3 of your plate should be some starchy vegetables or rice, pasta, potatoes, and palm size should be a protein, which is fish or chicken, lean meat. So we've done a vegetable recipe, so we'll just put this in the refrigerator for 2 hours, and you can eat it served cold. So just wanted to talk about a little bit about good nutrition, which most of you probably know. In diabetes, it's all about carbs. So therefore, like this recipe has really 3 grams of carbs, maybe just coming from vegetables. So truly not really any carbs at all in that. And diabetes is all about eating right and exercising. The medications are in conjunction to your meal planning. So I would really encourage you to go to the Diabetes Food Hub website, and there's lots of recipes, budget friendly. If you have any dietary restrictions, you can really take advantage of that website and follow the recipes through there. Good nutrition is eating healthy. If you're looking for budget friendly, it's a myth that people think good nutrition means it's expensive. See, there's something like this. You can get, I got the big cucumbers, but you can get small cucumbers. And you can shop from Walmart, Target for fresh produce. Those are really budget friendly grocery stores. You can, even Jewel and Osco is surprisingly carrying a lot of food. Low fat, low carb, and lots of fruits and vegetables should be like the main core of diabetes diet. If you want it, again, the fist size should be like your carb intake, palm size should be your meat intake, and rest is all vegetables. You can definitely find different vegetables too. If somebody doesn't like cucumber and onions, there are different kinds. You can have like a green spinach salad. You can put some berries in it. And so there's tons of recipe. For the time, I just took this easiest recipe possible. And it really tastes very good. So I will let you explore, and you'll get more to hear from the webinar about good nutrition, and talk to the panel. Thank you.
Welcome to Diabetes Food Hub, a new food and cooking destination from the American Diabetes Association. Explore hundreds of recipes and healthy tips from the nutrition experts. Searching for recipes is easy. Just type in key ingredients or filter them by favorite cuisine or meal type. On Diabetes Food Hub, you can save your recipes in the recipe box. Plan your meals for a week and generate your grocery list. Simply create a profile and we'll serve up recipes on the homepage tailored specifically to you. After you sign up, click on the calendar icon to access your personal meal planner. The saved recipes from your recipe box show up in the right column. Drag and drop to create a full week's worth of menus. To get nutrition information on your meals, click on Nutrition Facts. With your meal plan complete, it's time to generate your grocery list. Remove or change quantities of items you already have to customize your grocery list. Then print, download, or email your list, which can also be easily accessed on your smartphone and tablet devices. There are many additional features, articles, and recipes available to explore. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter to receive tasty kitchen tips and recipes delivered directly to your inbox. Diabetes Food Hub, the source for meals you'll cook, share, and love.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sharmila, and again, thank you for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this group. So in elaborating, I hope you enjoyed the cooking demonstration. And they have great recipes. I would really encourage everybody to look at the Food Hub. So I wanted to spend a little bit more time on meal planning and the plate method, which I didn't do much in that video. So as you can see in this plate, you want half of your plate full with non-starchy vegetables, which are mostly broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, green beans, carrots, beetroots, zucchinis, yellow, all the colorful peppers, all of them would be half of your plate. Spinach, all the greens. 1/4 of your plate should be some protein, which is like a palm size. And 1/4 of your plate, so again, this is an empty plate, but this will give you a little half plate here, 1/4, 1/4 of protein, and 1/4 of your plate with grains or starchy vegetables. So we'll talk about more about carbs. I just mentioned a little bit, but carbs are made of either dairy, fruits, and grains. So either it is starchy vegetables, rice, pasta, cereals, oatmeal, dairy, any milk or yogurt, and beans, legumes, fruits, they're all carbs. So that 1/4 of your plate should either have any of those or all of it. And the serving sizes, depending on what your dietitian has allowed you to have. Mostly we recommend the carb loads. So the distribution of carbs is more important than eating too much carbs at one time. So for example, if you did this, so different food has different serving sizes. So this slide tells you what are your different carbs, and all carbs are not equal. So for example, this is 1/3 of a cup serving size, and cooked rice, pasta, quinoa, all of them is going to be about a serving, which is 15 grams. So we go by counting carbs, and that's very important because the blood sugars are depending on the carbs we're eating. Higher carbs, higher blood sugars. Lower carbs, lower blood sugars. And generally when we eat, very first bite, in an hour, our blood sugar starts rising. And your body is giving the signal to the pancreas to make more insulin. And it's supposed to match. And then they're supposed to open all the doors and the glucose gets into the cell. A lot of type 2 people have resistance. Type 1 make no insulin, so they have to take insulin. But it all has to do with the carbs and the proteins and the fat, but mostly carbs have, and the type of carbs we're eating. If we are eating things with higher fiber, there is a slow absorption of those glucose. So understanding a serving is extremely important. And the ADA websites, or American Diabetes Association and American Dietetic Association, all of them have the food exchange list, is used to be called. So 1/3 of a cup cooked, that is a serving. 1/2 cup of mostly fruits, beans, cereal, starchy vegetables like potatoes, sweet potato, they're all about 1/2 cup. So 15 is a rule of thumb, one serving. So we generally say to limit to about 30 or 45 grams of carbs, or 60, depending on where they are, how their body is tolerating. And that is something that I give my patients. Now I would ask Amy and Sheila if they can say what they do with their patients.
Sheila, do you want to go first, or do you want me to just trudge on? I can trudge on.
Go ahead, Amy, and start. Go ahead.
All right. I do work primarily with people with type 1 diabetes who are adjusting their insulin according to the amount of carbohydrate that they're actually consuming. However, for those individuals with type 2 diabetes that I do work with, we know that meal planning is complex. Again, as you've been hearing Sharmila already talk about, there's a lot that goes into it. And I'd love to say that, it's easy, but we know it's not, because again, more people would be doing a lot of the recommendations if it was easy. However, individualizing the needs and meal plans and eating patterns for the person that's in front of us. So there are some individuals who may want to look at the plate method, like what you're seeing on the screen. There are some that just want to be portion aware. Others, they just want to focus on one thing, saying, you know what, I need to eliminate some of my added sugars. Let's just work on that. So I think when it comes to meal planning and diabetes, everyone is at a different stage. And while it's not an all or nothing approach, again, you can make small changes that are going to impact weight, blood pressure, cholesterol, and glucose levels. So I think that, again, there is no one size that fits all. So it is important, but this information that you're seeing on the screen right now is crucial to be carb aware and to know what is going to impact your glucose levels. But it all comes down to you. How does it impact you? One person is going to be different than another. So that's important too.
And just to add on, what Sharmila and Amy said, you brought up some great points with the slides, especially Amy, when you talked about, one size doesn't fit every patient, because when I have my patients come in, I try to have them bring a food diary. We kind of talk about the carbs and what are carbohydrates to identify them. I always tell them to think about the corn, peas, and potatoes are the starchier vegetables. And so you want to have those in moderation. And so when they come in with their food diary, it allows them to see what their eating patterns and habits have been. It allows me to see what some of their food choices are. And we kind of talk about the colors. My patients will laugh because I tell them all your vegetables shouldn't be yellow, so we kind of laugh about that so that they can start to have more of a variety. And then also trying to see how active they are. Because if they're very active, they'll need more carbohydrates to burn for that energy. If they're not that active and I see that they're taking in a lot of carbs, just trying to get them to cut that down so that we can look at, are those choices going to be between 30 to 45? Are they going to be between 45 to 60? What does that look like? And so when you come in to meet with your team, we're able to individualize it for you and allow you to put together your meal based upon those foods that you enjoy. Sometimes the patients will come in and say, well, just give me a diet, just give me a menu. And I tell them it's bigger than that. Our goal is to help you take control of your diabetes. It's to help you manage your diabetes. And we do that by teaching you how to put those meals together yourself to have a variety of choices. So this has been like really great information that has been shared with the examples, and that, all of us are doing things kind of like the same as together as a team. And that's what we do. Our goal is to empower our patients to take control of this and better manage.
Next slide.
So this goes more with portion control, because it's all about, like what Amy and Sheila said, it's all about eyeball effect. I showed you about measuring cups. We can't carry measuring cups everywhere, but at least tells us what a third of a cup will look like. So if you ate a cup of rice, if a portion size, that'll be almost like 3 servings. So that's what it is. So therefore, we in general, we'll say fist size. And my patient will say, oh, my fist size is bigger than yours. So I'll say, yeah, then you eat your fist size, than mine. So that's what it is. And what I think Amy and Sheila made a great point. It's really individual. And these days with these continuous glucose monitoring and things like that, you'll really see, for some, white rice doesn't do anything. For some, the white rice may raise your blood sugars, the brown rice wouldn't. And so it's really the glycemic effect of those carbs you ate and what it is going to do is very, very individual. Some people are so resistant that, a little bit also breaks their blood sugars high. And then that's when they have to probably walk after the meals. So this is more like a portion size, like a fist size for your carbs. But like we said, a palm size should be like your protein. And a thumb size is what they call about as a fat. So can we have the next slide, please? Okay. So I wanted to spend some time teaching food, reading the labels. So I'm not sure if you're all able to see, there's always a serving size up on the top. So you always want to go with the serving size. So 3/4 of the salad that I did a demonstration about. So that 3/4 of it is what the nutrition information is all about. It has about 15 calories, 0 grams of fat. So no saturated, no trans, no cholesterol. Sodium is about 100 milligrams. That again depends on the taste, how much salt you put in. Total carbs is 3, which is coming from those non-starchy vegetables. So some will count it, some will not. But that is how you will look at. So if you're looking at a piece of bread or piecing anything, you want to look at the serving size. This is 3/4 of a cup, and that nutrition label is true for that serving size. So if you're eating double than that, then you'll have to say, okay, then I got 6 grams of carbs. So most people, I know there's no percentages in here, but a lot of people look at the percentages, but we don't look at the percentages because that percentage is based on a 2,000 calories. So always look at the grams of carbohydrate. Amy and Sheila, do you have anything else to add or anything else you talk to your patients about? Label reading?
No, I think you did great, Sharmila. I did want to circle back to something that you said in your video, because again, this is just a perfect example of this recipe and kind of when we think of cost of healthier options, make sure that you are buying in season. So, again, this particular recipe, I know that when I went to the store, I was able to get cucumbers 5 for $1. So again, it's just, I just wanted to just mention that because again, I do feel that is crucial when it comes to, the Diabetes Food Hub has some wonderful recipes. And this is a great season to test drive a lot of them because you're going to be able to find a lot of the vegetables that are in season right now.
Yeah, and I just want to also add questions that I get sometimes from patients when they look at the carbohydrates. Not only do they add that up, but they try to add the sugars and everything underneath it. And I tell them the word total means it's already been counted. So just pay attention to the total carbohydrates because like this one that we're looking at now, the grilled salmon avocado salad is showing that the serving size is that size, that's salad size, and it's 10 grams. I always tell the patients when they come in, you don't have to do all that other addition because sometimes that becomes confusing to them. The total carbs is your number. You don't have to worry about the breakdown under.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amy and Sheila. Now, I just wanted to ask, do you guys think nutrition is the main source in terms of keeping their blood sugars in check?
It's the cornerstone of diabetes self-management. Yes. I think that, again, we all eat, everything that we put in our pie holes are going to affect our glucose levels. So yeah, again, it is the cornerstone. So it's so crucial that people understand it. Not that you weren't expecting me to say anything different, Shamila.
I know. The other thing I keep telling people that that's something I tell them, and recently has been, because every day, diabetes, we talk about consistency. Even if they're on insulin, if they're on medication, if we can be consistent as much as possible with the carbs and the same, but our life is not consistent. Our days are not consistent. So there are going to be variability. So I do tell people is then go for a walk. If you blew it, if you did something that you were not supposed to do, just try to go for a walk, and it'll bring down your blood sugars much. Even if you didn't have a time to go for a walk, but if you have to run errands, if you have to go to the grocery store, do it after you ate, so that the walking you're going to do it at least going to bring down the blood sugars you raised from maybe eating something that you shouldn't have eaten. Anything else, Sheila, you talk about?
No, I was just going to add, and I tell them, like you said, and if they don't go for a walk, if they're in a neighborhood and they don't feel like it's safe for them to go out, I tell them to put on music and dance. Just get moving. They can start dancing. And so, we have some patients who say it's not safe for me to go outside and walk. But you can always walk in your house, right? You can walk in your house. You can dance around your house. I think the key is to get moving. That's what we want them to do, to move.
So what is the most popular meal plan among diabetics, you think, like people with diabetes?
It depends. Certainly when we look at the research, again, people, are trying to strive for lower carbohydrate. So we do see that people are choosing lower carbohydrate meal plans, but the Mediterranean diet, the DASH diet, again, when we look at all the research, what's going to be the healthier ones, those are kind of the top two. But, I think that when I think of the best diet for someone, or the most popular, doesn't mean that it's successful. So, we have to kind of separate fad from reality. The meal plan that is right is the one that you're willing to actually follow on an ongoing basis.
Absolutely, I agree. And also, the intermittent fasting. Some patients say, it's too much food. I don't feel like eating all the time. So, I talk to them as well about the intermittent fasting. I have type 2 diabetes, and I found that with my work schedule, my busy schedule with work, being a caregiver, and everything that I do, intermittent fasting has helped me in keeping my blood sugar down. So you just figure out, what's best for you. And that's what we do. We sit down and we look at you as the individual, as a person, and we try to find out things about you so that we can help you be able to fit the right plans into your lifestyle. And I think the key is what, Amy said as well, and Sharmila, is what are you going to stick with? That's what we want you to do. What are you going to stick with? And you know what patients get tired of hearing? You can't eat that. You can't do this. Can't have that. Yeah, you can with moderation. So let's help you figure out how to incorporate those things that you enjoy into your meal plan. Now, we don't want you to have a lot of the big sweets, the cakes, the pies, and all of that all the time. Can you have some of the time? Yeah. And I love what you said before, Sharmila, because when I teach my classes, the participants laugh when I have them do their hands or, their finger for when they're cutting their cake. And I say, it's your portion, your body size, not the person sitting next to you, not your husband, not your wife, not your kids. It's your portion size for your body size. And that's, the things I try to get them to remember that, we can laugh about. And that's what patients want to hear, that they can enjoy the foods they like. It's about moderation and teaching you how to put it together and adding it with your meal.
We have some great questions coming through. I wanted to address the one Teresa just put through, about what if people with diabetes use food to self-medicate and compulsively overeating. Again, we have to acknowledge the psychosocial aspect of diabetes self-management, and seeing a psychologist or other mental health provider may be a good idea when it comes to these types of disordered eating patterns. Again, it may not necessarily be something that a diabetes care and education specialist or a registered dietitian can really kind of fixate too much on, but it is something that may need a little bit of a deeper dive and a ongoing basis with a mental health provider.
I agree. And I've also seen people have a lot of stress eaters too. So, with all the stress and emotional eaters, so I do agree that seeing a therapist and working with that will help. What are some of the tips and tricks for planning meal for the week? I can tell you what I do, which helps me, is mostly kind of finding out from Monday through Friday, what do you really want for the family, for your snack, for your lunch, or things, and then do the grocery list based on what you planning to do. Of Tuesdays, a lot of times I see from my patients, like Tuesday taco nights, they have like Monday this, Tuesday that, Wednesday that, and so that helps. There are nice meal preps. A lot of people cut their vegetables and put it in meal prep boxes, so it's just easy to stir fry if you like to cook every day. Planning always helps. If no planning, like people who absolutely cannot cook, I always tell them they can always have those frozen entrees, healthy choice or lean cuisine. They're generally low in fat and low carb. We all know processed foods are not the best, but again, it's shortage of time. If that something is there, you can always heat it up and eat that. Anything else, Sheila or Amy, you want to add?
I think, planning is crucial, when it comes to what you're going to eat. And I think that some of the other comments that are coming through about the psychology of why we're eating, are we really hungry or not, is something that we do have to kind of dive a little bit deeper. I know that there are a lot of online or mobile app sources of kind of getting to the behavior of why we eat. So again, there are some alternative things that you can do in addition to seeing a mental health provider. But again, if you're not planning what you're going to eat, you might be choosing things that you may regret later. We all have that, like, oh, why did I do that? So yeah, again, having a plan is a great idea. And I think that I love that the Diabetes Food Hub has been highlighted here, because again, it does make things easier for you. It can help you to kind of create a plan as well. While you don't have to do every single day, every single meal, but again, making sure that you're kind of planning for the things that you're going to be eating, including snacks. Like, what do you have in case you're hungry, in case you have a craving? So I think planning is always so crucial. Sheila, what do you think?
Yeah, I think planning is great. And I was seeing the other question that says, what are good guidelines to follow for fruit consumption? We have to remember fruit raises the blood sugar, right? And so even with that, you have to plan it out. You want to count it out. If you're getting some grapes, 15 is usually a serving of the smaller size grapes, not the big giant grapes. And so what I found is even with my fruit, I portion it out. If I go and buy the grapes, put them in the Ziploc bag so that you can have those serving sizes. It takes planning. Having diabetes is not easy, but it gets easier. When you begin to plan, it gets easier. And so, my patients laugh because when I come in, I have my lunch bag and I have to plan for it, right? Because when my blood sugar starts to drop, I'm hungry. I want to put any and everything in my mouth. And so I have to plan my snacks so that I can have them. And that's what we want to be able to do. I always tell them the firmer fruits have less juice in them. The softer the fruit, the juicier the fruit. It makes the blood sugars go up even higher. And so those are some things that we can think about, you're consuming your food and when you're starting to plan as well.
There's another question from Janet. It says, why is my blood sugar increasing during the night? Should I have peanut butter and crackers before bed?
I'd say one thing that we see in people with type 2 diabetes is that their liver, which is the storage unit for their sugar, is kicking out extra sugar overnight. And that usually is the reason why we see the blood sugar rising. Eating a snack before bedtime, again, it's extra calories. We used to recommend that in the past, especially when people were taking certain insulins that were causing low blood sugars overnight. But to be quite honest, most people don't really require a snack. However, again, if that is something that you need, that you want, that is, that this is my one, little thing that I love to do. Again, it is all coming down to the portion size of how much. So having peanut butter and crackers, but eating peanut butter and crackers to minimize the rise in your blood sugar in the morning may not have an impact.
Another question is, how about eating times? Specific to time of day of eating. Sheila, you want to take that?
Again, you have to look at your schedule and figure out what works best for you, right? I have some patients that work a night shift. I have some that works 3 to 11. So we have to sit down and kind of figure out what times work best for you with your schedule. And so, again, the intermittent fasting, when you look at the data, it says 10 to 6, 11 to 7, 12 to 8. You just have to figure out what works for you with your schedule, so that therefore, especially if you're on medications, your medications need to be taken with meals, because then you want to plan. It ties in again what we said earlier about the planning. It's the planning of the meals. The planning ties in with your day-to-day life schedule. It plans with your work schedule. And so that's a conversation you can have with your educators so that they can sit down and individualize it for you to help you figure out the best time.
I can, so just on the snacks, I just want to say, but any in the audience, if any, like diabetes and pregnancy, if somebody has gestational diabetes, that's when the snack at bedtime is something we encourage people having, because we don't want them having 10 hours of fast. So anybody in the audience, if they are pregnant and diabetes, then, the snack thing. Otherwise, for the rest of the people, what Emmy said works really, that we don't need those bedtime snacks. I can take this one. I'm not able to have just one cookie. I feel that if I eat one, it triggers me and I have to have more. And I've had that a conversation with a lot of people that too. So sometimes I encourage telling them to take a small bag maybe. So some people who like to eat like from the container or from the bag, if you can get like smaller cookie, like this 100-calorie cookies you get or whatever, you can look at those carbs, and maybe if that gives you satisfaction, then that is something is for you. So reading the label, I would say that there is so many products out there. You really need to see what is in your budget in terms of carbs that you want to have, or your dietitian and you guys have worked with. And that's what is necessary. So cookie, depending on the size and everything, the carbs content is going to be different, sugar-free versus sugary cookies. So, and how your blood sugars are affecting.
Darlene sent in a question and asked, breakfast is tricky. What works? Who would like to take that one?
I could take it, that's sure. I think one thing that we have to keep in mind of that word is breaking the fast. So again, that first meal of the day is tricky because again, food digests faster. And we have hormones that kind of wake us up, which can lead to insulin resistance. What that means is that you may not be able to eat as many carbohydrates at that time because it'll cause the blood sugar to rise higher, but also because the food is digesting, it makes it rise faster. So again, it's tricky to really find what's going to work for you. A lot of people, and there was a really small study that looked at kind of the looking at your meal composition and having kind of protein and fat first, and then having the carbohydrate. at breakfast. It kind of blunts that response so the blood sugars don't rise as quickly. But that may not work for everyone. So again, really kind of looking at, is there more fiber in your particular food? Is there a little more fat or a little more protein there that can kind of slow that digestion so the blood sugars don't rise as high? But also understanding that you may not be able to consume as much as you might at your other meals.
There, about the apps, there are actually few apps that are out there. To name a few, I know MyFitnessPal works. I know these days everybody's asking for a fee, but if you just do the bare minimum, I think you can get them for free. You can look up foods through that. If you start logging, I think they let you, when I was doing it, they let you log for a little while, but then they keep telling you to go up to paying them if you want to do more things. But it's a very good tool to look up. It has a great database. You can adjust things. And there are other like carb managers and these I can think of.
Yeah,
you guys have any?
Yeah, Lose It, Calorie King, again, they do have free versions for both iOS Apple users as well as Droid users on Google Play. So again, you can get them on both. And typically there are free versions that you can use.
And soups, I think soups are great if we can put all of them together and you can make a very healthy soup. There are, I'm sure the ADA Food Hub may have fantastic recipes on soups. I think it's pretty wholesome if you put vegetables, meat, proteins, and starches. You can make a good, nice soup.
Yeah, and broth-based soups. Again, when we think of soups and salads for that matter, again, more people didn't, if they had a soup and or a salad before they ate their main meal, they didn't eat as much at their main meal, which again, we're focusing on portions. So sometimes that's a really nice way, broth-based, of course, that can really kind of help fill you up with less calories. So you're not going to be consuming as much later on.
Is there any oatmeal that you are aware of that has lower carbs? So oatmeal in general, a steel cut oatmeal, anything instant is going to be most fast absorbing carbs. Anything that takes time to cook is going to be slow absorbing carbs. That's a very good rule of thumb. So generally half a cup of oatmeal is generally a serving. So if you're doing a steel cut oat, it'll probably be, just mix it with water. Then the carbs will only be from that cooked amount from that oat. Some people these days are doing like overnight oats. They're putting some chia seeds and yogurt, low-fat yogurt and putting it in the morning. It's apparently like a pudding. I haven't tried that, but I have heard great things about that. So I think oatmeal in general is good. What do you say, Amy or Sheila?
It's all about how much, again, I'd say, it really comes down to what is going to affect you. So, looking at those after meal blood sugars are going to help you to figure out, is oatmeal going to be right for you?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Oatmeal is a grain. Its job is to raise the blood sugars. So, the moderation, and figuring out what works best for your body. You have to figure out if you can have a half a cup, a fourth of a cup, a whole cup. I think it's what Amy said, checking your blood sugars 2 hours later to see how it's affecting your blood sugar. It's not necessarily saying you can't have it. You might need less of it so that your body can properly metabolize it and break it down. And that's what I tell my patients to do. Try it. Wait 2 hours and check your blood sugars. If your blood sugars is not within the range set between you and your healthcare team, try a lesser amount until you figure out how much. And so, that's what you have to do.
And for what Sheila just said, Beverly, again, I see your comment and question. You're a rock star because you're thinking about your meals and snacks every morning. Good job. But, using what Sheila just said about with, some cooking meats and vegetables in large amounts, is that okay? Is it okay for you? You're going to have to really look at some after meal blood sugars to identify that.
There is not much one can do about the Down syndrome. It's very hormonal. And I think everybody tries a lot of things. You just have to work with it and see how high, what's the point it's jumping from. So that is something you can talk to your doctor and see if there's any medications they can help with, or but dietary wise, I'm not aware of anything that helps with the downs.
Not diet wise. No, I'd say, again, it's that it's, dawn phenomenon, Samoji effect, again, they have lots of different terminologies for it. But, again, one thing that you could do to ease glucose levels rising is physical activity. Again, we have found that even people that are exercising even after dinner, taking that walk after dinner, their body is utilizing that glucose more efficiently at rest. So that is a possibility. So again, it may not be food related, but certainly, again, trying some other behavioral changes and increasing our activity. I see another comment from Teresa about and improper eating. I want to just mention, because again, I don't ever like people thinking that they're doing something wrong. Type 2 diabetes. Again, there's family history involved. There again, weight increases. So there's a lot of things that go into why somebody develops diabetes. So it's not necessarily about improper eating per se. It really has, there's a lot of things that go into that. And so it's really about changing our behaviors of exercise and again, minimizing the sugar, sweetened beverages and added sugars as well. So little simple things that can be done. So why people are actually developing diabetes. And in fact, looking at those who develop pre-diabetes, again, it really does come down to just losing a little bit of weight. So yeah, again, there is that correlation of even just losing some weight as well.
Plus, I wanted to add like ethnicity, like I'm South Asian, South Asians are very high at risk. So different ethnic group are higher at risk than the others. And so family history, your genes, all that, medication, some people develop diabetes because of having steroid-induced diabetes, so there's a lot of reasons that can happen. It's always not about improper eating. Smoothies.
Yeah, you take that one. I'll let you talk about that.
Well, I know smoothies are like a big thing. And again, it will come down to the carbs. I think one take-home message, if you take from today's series, is about carbs. You can put a vegetable carb, but the fruit, you have to see how much fruit you're putting in. The greens, we won't count as carbs. Spinach, but the blueberries, bananas, you just have to see from that food exchange list, like what is a serving. So berries, generally 3/4 of a cup is a serving of 15. Banana, half a banana of a large or a small banana is 15. So you have to see how much carbs you want to limit to and then add to that smoothie. Yeah. So that would be my suggestion.
No, I agree. I have to say, I'm not always a fan of drinking calories, just because, again, our body may not perceive it to be full. So again, we tend to then want to eat more because of that. But if somebody is going to, if they really want a smoothie, making sure that you're having a lot more vegetables than you are fruit. And instead of adding milk or some milk alternative, using water instead. So again, trying to choose some lower carbohydrate, lower calorie options for that smoothie.
And again, it goes back to what we said earlier. You just, once you have it 2 hours later, check your blood sugar. It tells you if that was too much. Maybe you had 8 ounces of the smoothie and your body is saying, listen, if this is how you're going to make the smoothie, we can only do 6 ounces. And so you have to figure it out. because I know there's some smoothies I make that my blood sugars don't care for, and I have to have a lesser amount. And so it just depends. It goes back when you talked about, someone asked a question about breakfast. Sometimes you might want to have a smoothie in the mornings, but you want to be mindful of how much of that smoothie you're having. When you have diabetes, you have to check. When you're having those carbohydrates, everybody's body is different, and you got to know your numbers. So you have to check in order to know what foods work best with you for your body. And being able to do those postprandials 2 hours after you eat, it helps, and it makes a big difference so that you can know what you need to do. To give an example, some popcorns is really weird, run my blood sugars higher than others. And so I had to find the right brand of popcorn to have. And then I had to figure out the amount. My body didn't like 3 cups, where somebody else could have the 3 cups. So you have to really check your numbers to know which foods work best for you.
Yeah. And I know, just while talking about this, I just want to say, because the food industry and the food and what they put in there is so different from, so it's always read the ingredients in it, read the label. I just wanted to quickly ask Amy and Sheila, what are your thoughts on eating out? I mean, how best can you help somebody who eats out a lot?
It all comes down to the portion size. I think that when you're eating out, acknowledge the fact that what they're giving you on that plate is probably enough for 3 or 4 servings. What I tend to recommend is, why don't you just go ahead and, cut that amount in half and have them wrap it up for you to take home. Or if you can just share it with someone else and split that. Again, it all comes down to how much you're actually consuming. But getting back to what we were talking about earlier about soup and or salad, again, having perhaps a broth-based soup before you eat your main meal, or even having a salad with some dressing on the side can fill you up. So you're not going to be consuming as much of that main meal. Remember that it takes our brain about 20 minutes to realize that it's full. So again, making sure that you are savoring and enjoying, that whole psychology of eating. Again, why are we eating it? We don't want to just keep eating. And you want to actually enjoy it and taste it. So again, smaller portions and making sure that you are including more healthier choices. But Sheila, what are your thoughts?
No, I totally agree. You have to plan for it. You have to know. And so it ties in with, what is your lifestyle? How often are you eating out? And then you need to plan. Where are you going? And like you said, listen, Amy, I love the Olive Garden. I love the salad before it starts. I eat the salad, and as soon as they bring out my chicken Alfredo, because I already know what I'm getting when I go, immediately I tell the server, can I have a to-go container? And so I eat the salad because it's so good. I portion out my meals and I cut it up. My family say I have this whole routine and this ritual I go through, but I do. And so when I go places, I find myself doing that. As soon as they bring my food, I say, can I have a to-go container? And I take the portion off. I know that I'm not going to eat. I put it up and I close it right away. And so it's okay to ask for the to-go container. It's okay to share a meal with somebody that you're there with. We have diabetes and we have to take control. Diabetes is a disease that has to be managed by the individual. We can give you the information, we can give you the education and the advice, but it's all about you and what you make up your mind that you're going to do. And so don't be ashamed or afraid to ask for what you need to take control of diabetes and to best manage it. And so, yes, you can go out and eat, but plan for it. Be ready for it. Look at the menu in advance to see what they're serving. If you don't see it on the menu, ask, because sometimes they will prepare something for you. I've gone to a restaurant and didn't see what I wanted on the menu, and I've asked for something and they said, well, let me come back. And the chef made it for me for what I wanted and prepared it the way I wanted. So you don't know until you ask, and don't be afraid to ask the question. Because again, at the end of the day, this is about you managing a disease. So ask.
Yeah, I cannot stress enough. And I think I learned more in this country by asking, because a lot of things we just don't know, like a dry toast. If you go to a place to eat, they slap with butter and they give it to you. It took a while to tell me, oh, by the way, dry toast, and put the butter at the side. But a lot of things just come naturally. So if you don't ask, you don't, like the salad at the dressing, if you don't ask, they're going to pour the whole dressing that you yourself may not be needing as much. So there's a last question in there. Is it really necessary to keep a food diary? I'll tell you, it helps really, because we talked about your blood sugars. If you keep a food diary, we would know with the blood sugars, how that has an impact. And it'll, for yourself, a feedback you would know. At least before an appointment, I tell them, if it's not easy for you to read it, do it every time, at least come bring it to the appointment and your team can look at it and work with you.
No, I find a food diary to be very valuable, even for myself. It keeps me honest. But, again, it doesn't have to be, give me a year of a food diary. It could just be 3 days. So I think it's, it is good to kind of check in with yourself every once in a while to see, what am I eating? Am I eating something and, I forget about it? So I think that, again, definitely using it. And I love that, Leslie, it is about accountability, again, really, use it even on a, just kind of, quarterly basis, as Sharmila said, even before your healthcare team appointments. Again, it's a great way to just be like, oh, wow, I'm always eating this. Why am I doing that? So again, it helps you check in with yourself.
Well, I think that is the last question for this webinar for the meal planning and nutrition. What a great discussion, great dialogue. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Amy. And thank you, Sharmila. Greatly appreciate it. And especially thank you to Humana for your support. I did drop a few links in the chat on the Diabetes Food Hub, and also more information about carbs, and also the link to where you can find the library that shows these different webinars dating from March, and then our June webinar that took place as well. So be sure to look through the chat box to find those links. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to the ADA here in Illinois, and we'd be happy to help you. But thank you again to our panelists and to Humana, and hope everybody has a great rest of your day.
Be safe, everybody. Thanks a million.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.